The restaurant fell completely silent the moment the young waitress answered the billionaire in flawless German. Just seconds earlier, he had looked around the elegant dining room with a smug smile, believing no one could understand the cruel words he whispered to his business partners. He mocked the waitress's worn shoes, laughed at her humble appearance, and confidently declared that people like her would never amount to anything in America. He assumed she was just another invisible worker serving expensive meals to wealthy strangers. Then she calmly looked into his eyes and answered him in perfect German. His smile disappeared. The businessmen sitting beside him froze. For the first time in years, the billionaire had nothing to say. Before we continue this unforgettable story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes kindness is stronger than pride. Leave a comment telling us where you're watching from if you believe everyone deserves respect, no matter what job they do. The story began in downtown Chicago, Illinois, where towering glass buildings reflected dreams that belonged to people from every corner of the world. Inside one of the city's finest restaurants worked a 26-year-old waitress named Grace Morgan. Every morning before sunrise, Grace rode 2 buses across the city to begin her shift. Most customers noticed only her polite smile and quick service, but nobody knew the weight she carried inside her heart. Her father had passed away years earlier after a long illness, leaving behind medical debt that nearly destroyed the family. Her mother struggled with arthritis and could no longer work. Grace became the only provider, balancing 2 jobs while quietly studying languages every night at the public library. She never complained because her father had always told her that knowledge was something no one could ever steal. Among the restaurant's regular customers was a famous billionaire investor named Victor Schneider. Newspapers admired his fortune, television praised his business genius, and magazines described him as one of the most powerful men in America. Yet behind his polished image lived a man whose success had slowly replaced humility with arrogance. Victor expected perfect service everywhere he went. He believed expensive tips gave him permission to treat employees however he pleased. Many workers feared serving his table because one small mistake often resulted in humiliation. That rainy Thursday afternoon, Victor arrived with 3 wealthy European investors. They were discussing a massive real estate project worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Grace welcomed them with the same warmth she offered every customer. She carefully served coffee, arranged fresh bread on the table, and politely answered every request. Victor barely acknowledged her existence. As the meeting continued, Victor switched to German while discussing the restaurant staff. Believing nobody nearby understood him, he laughed and pointed toward Grace. He commented that she looked too intelligent to be serving tables but obviously had failed in life. He joked that perhaps she had wasted years chasing impossible dreams before ending up carrying plates for successful people. His guests chuckled politely, uncomfortable yet unwilling to challenge their wealthy host. Grace heard every word. Each sentence struck her heart like cold rain, but she refused to let tears appear. Years of hardship had taught her that dignity often means remaining calm when others expect you to break. When Victor finished speaking, Grace gently placed another cup of coffee beside him. Without raising her voice, she thanked him in flawless German for reminding her that success should never be measured by someone's uniform. She politely explained that her late father had been a German literature professor who filled their small home with books instead of money. She said she had learned the language from him before he became sick, and every German sentence she spoke carried memories of a father she still missed every single day. The entire table froze. Victor's face lost its confidence. His guests stared at Grace with complete astonishment. No one laughed anymore. Grace quietly wished them an enjoyable afternoon before returning to her work, leaving behind a silence heavier than any argument. Victor tried to continue his business presentation, but the atmosphere had changed completely. His own words echoed inside his mind. For the first time in years, he realized how easily wealth had blinded him. The investors no longer focused on contracts. Instead, they looked at Victor differently, wondering how a man capable of building billion-dollar companies could fail at showing basic respect to another human being. After the meeting ended, Victor remained seated alone. Through the restaurant window he watched Grace helping an elderly customer into a taxi while holding an umbrella over the woman's head, even though it meant getting soaked herself. She smiled warmly, expecting nothing in return. There was no audience, no cameras, and no wealthy clients watching. Her kindness was genuine because it came from her character, not from convenience. The restaurant manager later shared Grace's story with Victor. He learned that she worked nearly 16 hours every day between two restaurants. He discovered she donated part of every paycheck to a community literacy program because her father believed education changed lives. He learned she secretly paid for groceries each month for an elderly neighbor who had no family. None of these acts appeared on social media. Grace never spoke about them because kindness, to her, was never meant to become a performance. That night Victor returned home unable to sleep. His luxurious mansion suddenly felt empty despite its size. He remembered growing up in a small apartment where his own parents had taught him humility before success changed everything. Somewhere along the road to becoming a billionaire, he had forgotten those lessons. The next morning Victor returned to the restaurant before opening hours. Grace was arranging tables when she saw him enter. She expected another complaint, but instead she saw something unfamiliar in his eyes. Regret. Victor sincerely apologized. He admitted that his words had been cruel, arrogant, and undeserved. He confessed that hearing her speak German had not embarrassed him nearly as much as realizing the kind of person he had become. Grace listened quietly. Forgiveness did not erase pain, but her father had always taught her that carrying bitterness only creates another victim. She accepted his apology without asking for anything in return. Victor left but couldn't stop thinking about her strength. Weeks later he invited Grace to visit one of his charitable foundations. At first she declined, believing she belonged in the restaurant rather than corporate offices. Eventually she agreed after learning the foundation wanted to expand educational programs for working adults. During their meeting Grace proposed creating free evening language courses for immigrants and low-income workers who wanted better careers. Her ideas came from personal experience rather than business reports. Victor immediately funded the project. Within a year, hundreds of adults attended classes across Chicago. Parents learned English, young workers gained new opportunities, and refugees discovered hope through education. Grace supervised the program after finishing her restaurant shifts, refusing to leave until every student had received encouragement. Reporters soon noticed the unusual partnership between the billionaire and the waitress. Many expected a dramatic publicity campaign, but Victor always insisted the real hero was Grace. During one interview he admitted that the most valuable lesson of his career had not come from Wall Street or business school. It had come from a waitress who answered cruelty with dignity. Grace never became famous because she wanted attention. She continued serving customers with the same gentle smile, treating every person equally whether they ordered coffee or expensive steak. Her heart remained unchanged because hardship had taught her compassion instead of resentment. Years later, one of Grace's language students graduated from law school. Another opened a successful family business. Countless others found better jobs and brighter futures because someone believed education mattered more than appearances. Every graduation ceremony reminded Victor that one respectful conversation could transform countless lives. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs to remember that true greatness is found in humility, not wealth. Special request: before we finish, please leave a comment with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe respect should never depend on someone's job title or income. As the years passed, Victor often returned to that same restaurant, but not because of the food. He returned to remember the day a waitress changed his heart without raising her voice. Every visit reminded him that fortunes can build skyscrapers, but only humility can build character. Grace never sought revenge, recognition, or rewards. She simply chose dignity over anger and compassion over pride. Her quiet courage proved that the strongest people are often those the world overlooks. And somewhere in a busy restaurant in Chicago, beneath ordinary lights and ordinary tables, one simple reply in German became the beginning of two transformed lives, one rescued from poverty by perseverance, and the other rescued from arrogance by grace. Sometimes the richest person in the room is not the one with the largest bank account, but the one whose heart remains kind when the world gives every reason not to be.